A long time ago, in a noisy compound somewhere in Accra, Ghana, there lived a couple known by everyone as the lovebirds of Bloxy. Their names were Rahila Mensa and Nasia Mensa. For years, their love used to disturb the peace of the yard. If they weren't laughing together at the tap, they were chasing each other around, shouting, "Ah, Rahila, stop it! You will pour water." "Oh, Nasia, you have to catch me first." Even Auntie Efua, the gossip queen who sold granuts by the gate, used to tell people, "If these two ever fight, the moon will forget to shine." Well, my people, the moon forgot to shine that same week. It all began on a Saturday morning. Children were fetching water, and Kojo Taylor's sewing machine was already shouting grrr by the corner. Inside flat 3B, Rahila was on a video call with her husband's mother in Kumasi. At first, the conversation was sweet until Mama Mensa mentioned something about respect and how wives should behave. Even though Rahila smiled politely, you could see that her smile was like fufu without soup, dry and tight. When Mama Mensa said, "In our family, we don't talk back to our husbands," Rahina finally had it up to here, and she snapped and replied, "Mommy, with all due respect, sometimes you talk too much." Hey, the line went silent. Even the ceiling fan slowed down in shock. Right there, Nasia, who had been polishing his shoes near the window, lifted his head sharply. "Rahila, did you just tell my mother she talks too much?" "I said with respect, didn't I?" she fired back. "Respect that carries insult on its head is still insult," he shouted back. That was it. No more laughter. Everybody's ego was in high alert. By evening, they were no longer a couple. They were two strangers sharing a ceiling, a fan, and rent. Rahila cooked her jollof rice silently, banging the pot lids as if she was forging iron. Nasia gingerly ate his bread and granuts like an angry orphan. Before long, neighbors began to notice. Auntie Efua whispered to Kojo Taylor, "Bra Kojo, have you seen our Romeo and Juliet?" Juliet has changed her name to Scorpiono. Now they are operating like two statues." And that was how the nickname started, Mr. and Mrs. Statue. Before the week ended, half of the compound was using it like it was their surname. "Auntie Efua, where is your broom, please? Check near Mr. and Mrs. Statue's door." But the neighbors weren't privy to the main gist yet, until 2 nights later, around 11 p.m, when the yard had gone quiet. Rahila heard Nasia's phone vibrate. He grabbed it fast, stepped outside, and spoke in a very low tone. She pretended to be asleep, but one of her ears stood like an antenna. The only thing she heard was, "Yes, I'll send it tomorrow. Please don't tell her yet." Her heart skipped. Don't tell who? Tell me what? But then, when he returned, she shut her eyes quickly and breathed heavily like someone dreaming. Nasia stood by the bed for a moment, watched her face in the darkness, then went under the blanket without a word. That was how a small quarrel over talking too much slowly turned into a cold war of suspicion. They no longer spoke directly. Their poor niece, Ajua, a 19-year-old university student on break, had become the official post office of the Mensas. Every message passed through her like a post office. In the morning, Rahila would say, Ajua, tell your uncle his breakfast is on the table. Ajua would sigh, drag herself to the sitting room and repeat, Uncle, Auntie said your food is on the table. Nasia, reading his newspaper without understanding anything, would answer, Tell her I'm fasting from bad energy. Then Ajua would go back again. Auntie, Uncle said he's fasting from bad energy. Rahila would hiss. Tell him even his fasting needs repentance. He should repent first. By evening, the girl would drop on the sofa, so exhausted. Kai, these people don't need marriage counselor. They need a microphone so they can speak to each other without having to disturb me. Meanwhile, outside, the yard had already picked sides. Auntie Efwa, the gossip chief, sat near the tap, giving commentary. Kojo Taylor, slim like his measuring tape, was stitching trousers and nodding like a radio host. Then, Kojo began, Auntie Efwa, this quietness, is dangerous, Ah, my brother, Auntie Efwa replied. When a man grows too quiet, another woman is feeding him. Silence is the sound of stew somewhere else. They both laughed loud enough for Rahila, who was fetching water nearby, to hear. She pretended not to though, but her face squeezed small. That was the first day she began to watch properly. Nasia started behaving like a man in a secret agency. He now left home earlier than usual, came back later than usual, and received phone calls he refused to answer inside the house. Each time the phone rang, he would step out to the corridor, speaking softly like someone negotiating peace with the United Nations. Rahila would glance at Ajoa, pretending to be casual. Since when did airtime become privacy in this house? Ajoa would raise her hands. Auntie, please, leave me out of this one. I am not MTN. But deep inside, Rahila's mind began to spin and spiral. Could Auntie Afua be right? Was there really another woman feeding her husband? That night, while Nasia was in the shower, she glanced at his phone, facing down on the bed. But just when temptation told her to check it quickly, he came out of the bathroom with towel around his waist. Their eyes met. Fire versus thunder. She looked away, pretending to adjust the pillow. The next day, inside flat Reby, the tension was still alive. Rahila was ironing her clothes like the iron owed her some money, while Nasia sat at the table, pretending to balance accounts on his laptop. But the laptop had been on the same page for 2 good hours. Then, a knock came at the door. Bam, bam, bam. The mailman's voice followed. Delivery for Mr. Nasia Mensah. Nasia stood up quickly, collected the brown envelope and muttered, Thank you, boss. Confidential documents, thank you. He shut the door, glanced at the bold red stamp on it. Private, confidential. Rahila looked up, curious. Who is writing you private letter in 2025? Nasia cleared his throat. Work matter. He tucked the envelope under his arm and walked straight to the bedroom. In less than a minute, Rahila heard the sound of the drawer closing sharply. She stood there, staring at the closed door, getting really suspicious. Work matter that needs drawer lock. Okay now, interesting. That night, Nasia ate quietly and went to bed early. Rahila stayed in the living room pretending to watch a telenovela, but her eyes were fixed on nothing. When the final scene ended, she tiptoed into the bedroom. Nasia was already asleep, breathing softly. The drawer was slightly open, just enough to show a corner of the brown envelope sticking out like temptation waving. Rahila froze. Her heart was pounding. Every voice in her head was shouting, "Don't touch it, don't touch it." But curiosity was the loudest. It whispered, "Just one peek, only small." So she reached slowly, brought the envelope halfway out, and lifted the cover. Inside, she saw only the first page of a document, and that was enough to make her chest tighten. At the top corner was a blue logo, Kolebu Women's Clinic, and under it a name was written neatly, Ama Botang. Rahila's eyes widened. Ama? Clinic? She covered her mouth. At that moment, Nasia turned in his sleep and murmured something. She jumped, pushed the envelope back and shut the drawer quietly. She didn't sleep that night though. She just lay on her side of the bed, staring into the dark ceiling. Her mind was racing super fast. Clinic, woman's name, confidential, late night calls, everything lined up like evidence from Nollywood courtroom. By morning, her silence had graduated from ordinary to spiritual level. Even Adjoa noticed. "Auntie, are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Are you sure?" "Adjoa, eat your breakfast and mind your education." The girl nodded slowly. "This one don't pass Cold War. This one is deep freezer war." Meanwhile, outside, gossip was already simmering. Auntie Afua leaned over to Kojo Taylor at the tap and whispered, "Bra Kojo, I saw postman deliver envelope yesterday. It had confidential written with a red biro. You know what that means?" "What?" "Somebody's secrets have started working." Kojo laughed. I just pray the secret is not wearing skirts and lipstick." That same evening, Rahila sat on the edge of the bed, watching Nasia dress up to step out again. "Going to the office?" she asked softly. Nasia nodded, tightening his tie. I'm just meeting someone. It won't take long." At the women's clinic or at work?" He stopped for a second, looked at her. He almost felt guilty, but then he said, "You wouldn't understand." And that was it. He picked his keys and left quietly. Rahila sat back slowly. Tears were welling up in her eyes already. "So there really is another woman," she whispered to herself. But instead of crying, she wiped her eyes and said firmly, "Fine, keep your secret, Mr. Mensah. Silence has power, and two can definitely play the game." By the next morning, Auntie Afua had done what she was born to do. Spread information faster than Wi-Fi. It started as a whisper near the tap and ended as a full-blown national broadcast. "Bra Kojo Taylor, come and hear." They said Nasia has a pregnant girlfriend at Kolebu Women's Clinic. Her name is Ama Boteng. Kojo Taylor drops his measuring tape and shouted, "Pregnant? So all those silent nights were maturing into labor pains. Within 2 hours, the whole compound had become a radio station. The mechanic by the gate stopped fixing carburetor just to confirm the gist. Even the woman who sold wachi in front of the building paused to ask, "Please, who is Ama? Maybe she lives in my area." Every corner of the yard buzzed with theories. Some said Nasia was planning secret wedding. Others claimed Rahila had fainted from heartbreak. Meanwhile, Rahila herself was sitting in the living room, pretending not to hear a thing. She sat there, marking her student scripts with a red pen that had almost lost ink. She was feeling very frustrated. Every time the laughter outside grew louder, she pressed harder on the paper as if she was marking life itself. Adjoa came in quietly, holding 2 cups of tea. "Auntie, please drink small. You've not eaten anything since morning." Rahila sighed. "Adjoa, When you find out the person you cooked for is eating from another pot, food loses taste too. Auntie, maybe it's not what you think, the girl said gently. Rahila smiled sadly. I mean, when people start gossiping boldly about your husband's name, what's left to think? But you could at least ask him. No, Rahila cut in sharply. If a man wants to explain, he will. I'm done asking. The girl nodded slowly and went about her business. Outside, Auntie Efwa's voice was still running commentary. You see, I knew it. I told you quiet men are dangerous. He has been smiling too calmly lately. Ojutelo replied. Let him bring the baby here for naming ceremony, since this yard hosted the romance. That evening, as the sun went down, Rahila went into the bedroom and brought out a small blue travel bag. She folded her clothes neatly, placed her lesson notes on top, and zipped it slowly. Ajua stood at the door looking very surprised. Auntie, what are you doing? I'm just taking space before space takes me. But Uncle hasn't said anything yet. Exactly. His silence has already spoken enough. She set the bag beside the door, ready for the next morning after school. Then she sat on the bed, staring at the wall where their wedding photo hung. Both of them were smiling, holding hands, looking like tomorrow could never hurt them. Tears started rolling down her face, but she wiped them quickly and whispered, No more crying. Tomorrow, I walk away from this nonsense. The next morning arrived with roaster noise and gossip fumes already rising from Auntie Efwa's corner. But this time, she didn't have new material to gossip with. Nasia had simply vanished. He didn't come home the night before. His phone was off. No messages, no explanation. By 8 a.m., Auntie Efwa began, Hey, my people. It has happened though. It has happened. Do you know Nasia has run away with the woman from Kolebuo? Men are travelers by nature. You know? Kojotelo was shocked. You don't mean it. Exactly, Auntie Efwa replied. He even took night bus. I can feel it in my bones. Within 1 hour, the whole compound was buzzing like market day. Everybody was adding pepper and salt to make their own version sweeter. Meanwhile, inside flat 3B, Rahila was pacing from window to window, pretending not to care. Maybe he's at work, she muttered. Maybe traffic held him. But her voice began to tremble. Ajua entered quietly. Auntie, Uncle didn't call. Call what? Abeg, his silence has enough network. But the truth is, Rahila was scared. Because what if something had happened to him? Then she turned towards the table to tidy up, and her eye caught something immediately. It was Nasia's black leather wallet, lying beside his watch. She frowned, picked it up slowly and opened it. Inside were a few CDs, his ID card, and one folded photograph. When she unfolded it, her knees weakened. It was their wedding photo, trimmed neatly to fit inside. The edges were old, but the faces still laughed like they hadn't known pride. Rahila pressed the photo to her chest and whispered, So, after all this silence, you still carried me with you. Then, finally, the tears she had been swallowing for weeks poured out freely. She sat on the edge of the bed, crying quietly, still holding the wallet in her hand. Outside, Auntie Efwa's voice still echoed through the corridor. Hey, she's crying, Proof confirmed. Hey, the man has absconded. That night, everybody went to sleep early. Still, no word from Nasia. Rahila sat in the living room. She couldn't even leave that day again. She sat down, holding Nasia's wallet close to her chest. Her eyes were swollen. Her thoughts were scattered. Every sound in the corridor made her heart race. Still, no sign of him. Then, after a while, there was a knock at the door. Bam, bam. She froze. Then another knock followed. Bam, bam, bam. Rahila rose slowly. With trembling feet, she went and opened the door. And there stood Nasia, drenched from head to toe. His face was pale. His shirt was half-buttoned, looking like a man who had fought both rain and regret. "Nasia, please, Rahila," he said softly. "Before you say anything, just let me explain." He stepped inside and dropped a damp brown envelope on the table, the same one she had seen days ago. Rahila folded her arms, and even through her tears, she managed to say with a sharp tone, "What else is there to explain? Eh? I already know what's inside." Nasia looked at her for a long moment and then said, "No, you don't. You only saw a name. You didn't see the story." He opened the envelope with shaking hands and pulled out papers. Hospital receipts, prescription sheets, transfer slips. He handed them to her, one by one. Each one carried the same name, Amina Yakubu. Rahila's eyes narrowed. "My sister?" Nasia nodded. "Yes, your sister. She's been sick for months. Ovarian complications. She called me, not you, because she said you worry too much. She begged me to help quietly until she recovered." Huh? Rahila covered her mouth with her hand. "Yar Allah, Amina. Yes, that's why I've been getting those late night calls. The doctors kept updating me. That's why I've been working overtime to pay her hospital bills." She started crying again, but this time the tears came with a little hint of guilt. "And I thought you were hiding another woman, but I would never do such a thing to you. Your sister had an emergency surgery last night. All my phones were dead. I thought I would make it back home, but then when they finished, they told me I should wait for her to wake up. And when she eventually did, she had some after-surgery complications, and that also extended my stay. But thank God, she's well awake now, and we can go see her tomorrow, okay?" Rahila burst into fresh tears. "Oh my God, you kept all that from me? You didn't do well, Nasia, you didn't do well. But you are a good man. Thank you for taking care of my sister. I've been punishing you for your kindness. I'm sorry. And I let pride make it worse. I should have told you, but I promised her. I'm sorry." They stood there, drenched in the rain. Then Rahila stepped forward, placing her forehead on his chest and whispered again, "I'm sorry." "So am I," he said, wrapping his arms around her. For a long time, they just held each other. No words, no pride. Only rain tapping on the zinc like an old friend saying, "Finally." By the next morning, the sun rose gently over the yard. Kojotelo from his machine said, "Auntie Efwa, are my ears deceiving me? Or did I just hear Mrs. Mensah laugh?" Auntie Efwa dropped her broom and peeped through the corridor. She opened her mouth. "Hey, miracle has happened, oh! They are cooking together." Inside, Rahila and Nasia were shoulder to shoulder in their small kitchen, stirring a big pot of jollof. Nasia added salt while Rahila sprinkled pepper. Both were smiling like kids, having the best time of their lives. When the food was ready, they carried bowls outside and shared it with everyone in the compound. Rahila announced playfully, "Today's menu is apology jollof." It's soft, spicy, and full of peace. The neighbors clapped and laughed. Even Auntie Efua danced small before collecting her own plate. This rice smells like forgiveness, she said, smacking her lips. Nasia wrapped his arms around Rahila and whispered, maybe we should fight more often, no? The peace tastes better afterwards. Rahila nudged him and laughed. Abego, we can fight better and resolve better. This silent treatment isn't good for anybody's mental health. I agree, and I promise to do better, Nasia said, hugging her. The end. Sometimes the real enemy in marriage is not another woman, no, it's silence. Moral lesson. This story teaches us that silence and pride can quietly destroy even the strongest love. When two people stop talking, small issues begin to grow like weeds until peace disappears entirely. It reminds us that communication is not weakness, it is strength. Saying I'm sorry or let's talk doesn't reduce love, it protects it. No marriage fails overnight. But when pride becomes louder than understanding, then that is where the problem begins. So, speak kindly, forgive quickly, and never let silence live where love once lived. Okay? And with that, my Naya Padis, we have come to the end of today's story. I hope you learned a lot from this story because this one has a lot to offer. Don't forget to share this story to everyone you know. Give this video a thumbs up because me self try, okay? And if you're new here, now will be the best time to subscribe. Kindly hit the subscribe button and join our Paddy community. I promise you're gonna love it here. Remember, don't let anyone dim your shine. Not even Auntie Efua or Kojo Taylor. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, Ngwanu. Bye.